Blaster Master Zero is a Metroidvania where you play as a tank that can jump during the platforming sections, and there are also some top-down dungeon sections where you play as the human driver of the tank. Overall, it's a fairly easy game. There were some parts that I found a little bit tricky, but I've even seen some people complain that the game is too easy. Personally though, I find it quite a satisfying game to play through, and this got me thinking, if this game's satisfaction doesn't come from trying to overcome a challenge, then why do I enjoy it so much? Where do I get that sense of reward from? I think part of what I like about it is actually inherent to Metroidvanias. Being as it is a Metroidvania, in order to progress you have to find items, and these items will give you new attacks or new movement options that you can use to reach areas that you couldn't get to before. This means that as you go through the game, you are consistently getting more powerful. And just seeing yourself get stronger and better, this in itself, I think, is very enjoyable. If you think about something like Cookie Clicker, there's no actual gameplay in that. All of the enjoyment comes from just seeing yourself get better, more efficient, and watching those numbers rising. And while obviously this is a very different kind of game, I think to a degree you do get a comparable type of satisfaction just from seeing your tank and your guy who you play as in the top-down sections get more capable and stronger. You also get to collect optional items too, and I think this also adds another element of satisfaction because being as they're optional, you don't have to get them in order to complete the game. Rather, you are choosing to put in an extra bit of effort to solve a puzzle or to find a hidden room, and as a result you are getting some cool upgrade or other. And having it arranged like this, I think, feels a lot more earned than if it was actually required for you to find that in order to complete the game. Something else that also makes you stronger is just exploring the areas, getting more familiar with the terrain, and that kind of thing. And combining that knowledge of the area with these more powerful weapons that you're collecting, when you go back to older areas as you go on in the game, you'll find that you can absolutely blast through these places. And again, this is just another area where you get to see yourself getting stronger and stronger, and again, that feels good. Something else that adds a bit of depth to the game is the story. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of the story. There isn't a huge amount of text, and while there is a bit of sci-fi world building stuff, I wasn't expecting there to be any depth to it. Now, to be fair, if the story was supposed to be the main selling point of the game, then I don't think anyone would be too pleased with it. However, in a Metroidvania like this, having a bit of story in there does help a lot, and I actually found that there seems to be a meaning behind the story. It's not a super deep meaning, it's not really complex or anything, it's just the kind of wholesome life lesson that you'd expect out of children's entertainment. And while that might not sound very exciting, the fact that it actually has that, I think it adds a bit more backbone and a bit more depth to the story, and that makes it a bit more rewarding to play through the game. And speaking of playing through the game, there's also the way that the game ends. If you do collect all of the items as you go through it, then after beating the game, it will reward you with a good ending. And it is a really cool good ending. When I first played through it, I missed one of the items and got the bad ending, and it was pretty obvious that there must be another ending that you could unlock. It was clearly a bad ending, and it made me quite excited to know that I could go back and get some more out of this game that I'd already been enjoying playing through. And also, as I mentioned, it is a very cool reward that it gives you, and it adds a bit more satisfaction to it, knowing that you went out of your way to actually earn that cool reward. Obviously, as you can tell from what I've said, you don't have to put a ton of work in to be able to get that. If you miss it the first time through, you actually don't even have to restart the game to get it. You can just go back into your save file, and it lets you go back to before the boss fight and go back into the world and backtrack so you can go and look for the stuff that you missed. But even so, I think it does add a little bit more knowing that you did have to put in that extra bit of effort in order to get that cool ending. And I'm not going to tell you anything about what the ending is, because I think the surprise also adds something to playing it. So those are my thoughts on why this game is as satisfying as it is despite being easy. I might cover this topic again in the future and go over another easy game that I find satisfying. On the other hand, I also might not, I'm not sure yet. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe, and don't you dare leave a comment down below, you